They say mirrors are doors. Thin, silver veins that connect our world to another, reflecting what's supposed to be their dot dot. But not always what asterisk is asterisk there. Every mirror is a gateway, but every mirror is also a prison. And sometimes the things trapped inside get tired of waiting. At Maple Ridge Middle School, the legend was a whisper passed down through generations of students, a dare shared in hushed tones in the cafeteria and locker rooms. Call her name, they'd say, and she takes your place. Most of the kids laughed it off. Just a ghost story, right? But Emily Parker believed it. She had to. Because Emily already felt half invisible, a ghost in her own life. Tonight, she was going to prove she existed. She was going to stare into that abyss and make it see her, even if something else noticed her first. The school after midnight was a different beast entirely. The familiar hallways twisted into unfamiliar corridors, and the emergency lights flickered like dying stars, casting long, dancing shadows. Under the sickly green glow of an exit sign, Mia Grant's popular girl beauty looked almost artificial, but the smile she gave Emily was razor-sharp. 3 times, Mia instructed, her voice a low dare, a clear voice, eyes wide open. And whatever you do, don't scream. Unless she screams first. Nearby, Jasper let out a nervous laugh, a sound quickly swallowed by the oppressive silence of the empty school. He was trying to act tough, but his eyes kept darting toward the darkest corners. Emily's hand, wrapped around a cheap wax candle, was trembling. She hid it behind her back, hoping they wouldn't see. "I'll do it," she said, her voice firmer than she felt. "Just watch me." As if on cue, a sudden, unnatural gust of wind swept through the sealed hallway, rattling the lockers. At the far end of the corridor, the door to the long-abandoned girls' bathroom creaked open slowly, a dark maw in the wall. It was almost like it was inviting her in. The air inside the bathroom was heavy and cold, thick with the smell of decay and stagnant water. The paint on the walls was peeling in long, curling strips like sunburned skin. Shadows clung to the corners, thick and dark, looking like a type of mold that was slowly growing and consuming the room. In the center of it all, dominating the space, was a mirror. It was huge, wider than a coffin, its surface clouded with age and grime. From a leaky faucet, a single drop of water fell with maddening regularity. Drip, 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 like a frantic, failing heartbeat. With a click, Emily lit the candle. The small flame danced wildly, casting her own distorted shadow against the decaying walls. A flickering, desperate warning. She took a deep breath and forced herself to look into the glass. The girl staring back looked even lonelier, even more lost than she felt. Her voice was a fragile whisper in the suffocating silence. "Bloody Mary?" For a split second, her reflection's movement seemed to lag, a single frame too slow. A trick of the light. It had to be. She gathered her courage. Bloody Mary. The temperature in the room plummeted. The air grew sharp and brittle, and her own breath fogged in front of her face, turning to frost. She had to finish. One last time, her voice shaking but resolute. Bloody Mary. The silence that followed was deafening. It pressed in on her, so absolute that it had a physical weight. The faucet stopped its rhythmic dripping, the final drop hanging suspended in the air. A primal fear shot through Emily, and she spun around, intending to flee. But the door, the one that had been creaking open just moments before, was sealed shut. Not just closed, but fused with the frame, as if it had never been a door at all. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. And from the mirror behind her, an answering rhythm echoed through the room. Thump, thump, thump. Something was pounding back. With a will she didn't know she possessed, Emily forced herself to turn back and face the mirror. Her reflection was there, but it was wrong. It stood perfectly, unnaturally still. Its candle, a perfect replica of her own, burned with a dark flame, a twisting vortex of pure shadow that gave off no light. And then it spoke, but its mouth, its lips didn't move. The voice echoed not in the room, but inside her own head. "Let me in." The reflection's face began to change. Its smile stretched too wide, cracking the skin at the corners of its mouth. From its eyes, thick black tears began to drip down its cheeks, staining the glass. Behind the doppelganger, something else was pushing forward, its form indistinct. Hands, pale and skeletal, pressed against the surface of the mirror, distorting the glass like liquid mercury. Cold, impossibly cold fingers materialized from the reflection and wrapped around Emily's wrist. She opened her mouth and screamed, a raw, piercing sound of pure terror. But the darkness in the room seemed to eat the sound, swallowing it whole. The candle flame sputtered and died, plunging her into absolute blackness. She felt a horrifying pull, a wrenching sensation as she was dragged forward into the cold, unyielding surface of the glass. And then everything went black. A few moments later, the bathroom door creaked open again, just as it had before. Mia and Jasper, who had been waiting anxiously in the hall, jumped back in surprise. Emily stepped out. But it wasn't Emily. Not anymore. There was no fog of breath in the cold air in front of her mouth. There was no lingering fear flickering in her eyes. There was only a hungry, bottomless darkness. She looked at them, and a smile spread across her face. "Thank you," she said, but the voice was wrong. It was two voices at once, one layered over the other, grating and dissonant. "For freeing me." Each word seemed to snap and crackle in her throat. She didn't walk. She glided, her movements unnervingly smooth. In her hand, her phone was still clutched, its screen now a spiderweb of cracks. But the camera app was open. It was still recording them. As Mia and Jasper backed away, she began to follow, a shadow that had forgotten how to pretend it was human. The next morning, the news was filled with reports of a missing girl. Police cars surrounded Maple Ridge Middle School. Questions were asked. Lies were told. "We were just hanging out," Jasper stammered. She said she was going home. Emily's parents wandered the halls, their faces etched with a grief that was too raw, too real. Her mother's voice, broken and desperate, echoed through the empty school. "Emily? Sweetheart? Where are you?" But the mirrors knew. They all knew. In a world of cold glass and reversed reality, the real Emily slammed her hands against the unyielding surface, screaming for help, for anyone to see her. But her cries made no sound. Reflections can't be heard. And somewhere in the darkness behind her, a low, ancient laughter echoed endlessly. The disappearances began soon after. Jasper woke up one night to the distinct, chilling sound of someone breathing. It wasn't in his room. It was coming from his closet mirror. He stared, paralyzed with fear, as a figure slowly took shape in the reflection. Emily's figure. He could only whisper, the words catching in his throat. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." A new voice, cold and close, whispered directly behind his ear. "Trade places," Mia ran. She fled town, trying to put as much distance as possible between herself and Maple Ridge. But you can't outrun reflections. The windows of the bus showed her a twisted smile. The screen of her phone reflected a face that wasn't hers. Every mirror she passed seemed to chase her. Her own reflection would smile a fraction of a second before she did. And then one night, as she stared into the bathroom mirror of a dingy motel, her reflection simply stepped out first. Back at Maple Ridge Middle School, the old, grimy mirror in the abandoned bathroom looks almost brand new now, its surface clean and polished. It has been fed. It is satisfied. For now. But sometimes, when the security lights outside flicker and die for a moment, you can catch a glimpse of something inside the glass. A girl with wide, terrified eyes. Emily, still trapped, still screaming, still waiting. Because mirrors, you see, never stay full for long. They always get hungry again. So if you ever feel invisible, like no one sees you, maybe you should try it. Step closer to the glass, turn off the lights, hold a single candle, and whisper her name. Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary. Just remember one thing. If the person in the mirror smiles before you do, it's already too late. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next descent into darkness.